It's vlog number 17, and I'm in St. Charles, Missouri, looking at replicas of the Core Discovery keelboat. Hello, welcome back to the vlog. I am in St. Charles, Missouri, and I had a little bit of time today, so I thought I would go down and visit a location that I've wanted to for a while. It is the Lewis and Clark Boathouse and Nature Center. So this is a location of where they have a replica keelboat, as well as two of the other boats that went on the Core Discovery expedition, and it's great timing. I just talked about it in class a couple weeks ago, so I'm doing this vlog today, and I'll be sending it back to my classroom, and hopefully my students will be able to watch it and enjoy it. We're doing some cool activities, or we just finished up some cool activities with the keelboat, so I thought it would be great timing, and I brought my video camera along, I brought my camera along, and I thought I would document it and share a little bit of my trip today to the boathouse. The Boathouse and Nature Center really serve two purposes. It is both a museum and also just a functional place to store the replica keelboats that they have built and used at various activities, including the bicentennial, which it seems like only a couple years ago, but was actually about 13 years ago now. So when you go down there, the bottom part is kind of like a big storage area. So you can look through and you can see the keelboat, and you can see the two pirogues that are down there. And then you go up some steps, and on the top is a really nice museum and gift shop. So I was able to go on a Thursday in February, so traffic wasn't real heavy. There were probably like 6 or 8 other people in there while I was there. But the advantage of being there on a day that wasn't super busy was I was able to talk to Jeanette Spencer, who is an education specialist there. And then also one of the people that goes on these expeditions, Edwin Eller, who when they do the reenactments is actually Private Silas Goodrich. So I was able to talk to them a lot, kind of pick their brain a little bit, especially Ed. I was able to talk to Ed, and he's able to give me a lot of background on the keelboat and talked a little bit about some of the things that he's done on the reenactment expeditions. Upstairs, they have a variety of different exhibits. It's really well organized. They have a classroom, and the classroom is a place where you can watch some of the videos that kind of explain the expedition. Then they also have a ton of memorabilia from when they did the 2003 to 2006 bicentennial rediscovery. So they went out and tried to replicate the journey as closely as possible. So there's tons of memorabilia there, things like keys to different cities, pictures, just tons of stuff in this particular room. They also have an area outside, kind of right on the edge overlooking the river, which is a campsite that has examples of some of the supplies and all the different things that they would have had at a particular campsite. And it's a beautiful location. There's huge glass windows, and it overlooks the Missouri River. And when I was there, it was a warm, sunny day in February, and you can just kind of see out on the river. So that was really neat. They had a medical exhibit, and I have always been fascinated with the way that they brought all this medicine along. And as my students know, one of the things that I typically talk about is Rush's Thunderbolts, the massive laxative that they had. And so I took a picture of the little replica bottle of what that might have looked like, and actually talked to Ed about that a little bit. And it was kind of interesting because it contained a lot of mercury. And I've always really wondered, like, how did they take these pills that had a lot of mercury in them and then not, immediately die of like mercury poisoning and things like that. Now, again, I don't have a lot of medical knowledge, so I don't know exactly how mercury poisoning works, but Ed made a great point and talked about, when you take this pill, it would automatically pretty much clean everything out of your system, including what you had just taken with Rush's Thunderbolt. So it did have this high concentrate of kind of like a mercury, but it also exited the system very quickly. So as I told my students in one of the journals, I talked about when you take this pill, you must be in position to eliminate immediately. So I thought that was kind of an interesting part of the medical exhibit. Now, in addition to the life-size replicas down below the museum, there are quite a few model boats throughout the second level in the museum. So that was kind of neat to see different versions. Some have a little bit more detail than others. I really like this one that had kind of a cutaway so you could get a little bit of an idea of what was inside the keelboat. And when I was talking to Ed, he was talking about how they never actually really referred to it as a keelboat. On the expedition, they typically just referred to it as a barge. So it's neat to kind of see all these different models. We're trying to do some stuff in our own classroom with replicating in 3D printing the different versions of the keelboat. So we just finished that up before I came to the convention, but we're going to definitely try and print off some of those keelboats and see how close our students can get to the actual plans and what they had on the expedition. The one object that probably fascinated me the most in the museum was a bull boat. And I'd never read or seen anything about this, so I was really interested. It's kind of like a size of a hot tub, and it is a round boat. I guess the Core Discovery learned how to make them from the Mandan. It has a wooden frame, and then you would take one buffalo hide and then kind of wrap up the buffalo hide around the sides. And when I was talking to Eddie, he said they mainly used them just for kind of like ferrying back and forth across a river, so they wouldn't be used for like long distances. But I had never seen one of these before, and it was really interesting. I took some video and some pictures of it. From a pure science perspective, my favorite exhibit was a stream table. So I'm always talking to my students about how we have to visualize the Missouri River as being completely different back in the Core Discovery's time than in our time. Today it's been dredged and the river looks completely different. It's not as wide. It's obviously deeper where it's concentrated, and there's barge channels and stuff like that. So they have a table set up that has sand on it, and then a couple of tubes that have running water, and there's a little video that plays above it, and it shows you the different ways that erosion happens as water hits the sand. And so I thought that was really neat. It kind of showed how different things can happen as far as the creation of islands and things like that. So I was really impressed. I watched the video. I sat and watched the table a little bit. It's not meant for people to play in, but just to watch and see how erosion happens with water and the physical elements of sand. The museum also has a great collection of kind of like dioramas and models. So this will interest my students because some of them just designed models of the Mandan Village and Fort Clatsop. So they had models of all of these. They also had kind of a little bit of a idea of what the Mandan Village would look like on a smaller scale, of course. But it was really neat to kind of see these in kind of a diorama type approach. Also on the second floor is a great gift shop. They have tons and tons of literature, books. They had all kinds of maps, pictures, lots of things for kids, tons and tons of focus on the Core Discovery, including some videos of the expedition that they took as a tribute on the bicentennial. Lots and lots of good material in the gift shop. After visiting the museum on the second story, you go down some steps, and then it is a storage area for the three main replica boats. You've got the keel boats, the white pirogue, and the red pirogue. So this is really impressive to see what these would have looked like in size. I talked to Ed a little bit, and we watched the National Geographic video in class. The one that was in that particular video actually does not exist anymore. It's kind of an interesting story. I guess it was originally finished in about 1991 by a gentleman named Glenn Bishop, and it took him about 14 years to build that original one. And then unfortunately in 1996, the storage area where it was stored had a fire and it was completely destroyed. So then they went ahead and rebuilt. Unfortunately, Glenn passed away in 2002, but they definitely wanted to get a replica built so they could have it for the bicentennial of the expedition. So they built these replicas. It's amazing to look at and really kind of get an idea of kind of the size and the shape. They did talk a little bit that it's been kind of a little bit done up because they're currently being used, or they were recently within the last several years, used for an HBO filming. You may be familiar if you follow a lot of Core Discovery stuff. HBO is working on a movie, a miniseries, and they've had quite a few issues with some different, like, I don't know, production type things. So it's kind of still up in the air, but they are using this boat in the filming for that. So they did kind of do a little, they call it like makeup type stuff on the sides of the boat to make it look maybe a little bit more authentic. But it's just really, really neat to see these three boats and kind of get a feel for the size, what they would have looked like, and kind of imagining what they would look like on the river. All in all, I had a great time at the museum today. The people were extremely friendly. I spent about 3 hours there. Really enjoyed the top layer, the second layer. The museum was able to talk and get a lot of questions answered. So I had a great time. From an economical standpoint, it is a great value. As of right now, at least when I was there today, adults were $5 for admission and children were $2. So it's a great deal. It's a great gift shop. It's just a great way to connect with history and kind of capture a little bit of the core discovery. Just a short walk from the museum is a really impressive statue of Lewis and Clark and the dog that was on the expedition, Seaman. So you can kind of see this humongous statue and kind of walk around a little bit in a park area. Just a really, really nice place to kind of hang out. And it was like 70 degrees today in February, so it was a great place to walk around and catch a little bit of sun. So in closing, I definitely encourage you to go ahead and visit the museum. I took a lot of pictures, I took a lot of video, and I do have a Google photo collection up if you want to check that out. If you go to our webpage, which is www.historygeekteacher.com, you'll see show notes for this particular vlog. We'll have a link back to the museum. We'll have a link to some different information, and then also a link to a Google photo album of a bunch of the photos that I took today. I didn't include all of them in the video. I took quite a few pictures, as I typically do, and I'm going to go ahead and link that so you can access all of them if you want to. Maybe you're a teacher and you want to use some of them in your classroom. Feel free. Go ahead and let me know if you do use them. I'd love to know, but I will have that available on our website. So go ahead and subscribe to the video if you like this content. We're trying to create a lot more content in the coming weeks. Maybe not every day, but we're trying to do a lot more content. And I will be doing some vlogs here from the Missouri Council for Social Studies Conference, which starts up tomorrow. So that's it for today. As always, remember, history is so much more than just a bunch of boring old dead guys. Until next time, bye.